The first thing I saw that morning, when I opened the door, was the sunlight slicing through the blinds, painting golden lines across the floor. But it wasn't the sunlight that made my chest seize, it was her. She was standing there, in my living room, wearing my old flannel shirt, sleeves rolled up haphazardly, and nothing else. The shock hit me like an icy wave. Her hair was damp, tangled slightly, as though she had run through rain. Her eyes, big, terrified, and yet defiant, met mine for a split second before darting away. If you're watching this on Touch of Kindness, and you believe in the magic of kindness and second chances, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. This story, it's a reminder of what can happen when we open our hearts. Her name was Aria. I had never met her before that morning, and yet, somehow, it felt like fate had thrown her into my life with no preamble, no explanation. I blinked, trying to process how someone could appear at your doorstep like that. My mind raced. Who is she? Why is she here? What does she want? But before I could even speak, she stumbled forward, shivering slightly, and whispered, "Please. I don't have anywhere else to go." I noticed the bruises first. Faint, angry purples on her arms and shoulders, partially hidden by the shirt. There was a trembling in her voice, a tremor in her hands as she gripped the fabric tightly around her. I had no idea what had brought her here, but the vulnerability, the fear, it cut deeper than anything I'd ever felt. I motioned her to come in, muttering something I hoped sounded comforting. She stepped inside, careful, hesitant, like a deer in unfamiliar woods. My apartment was modest, just a small living room, a kitchenette, and a bedroom barely large enough for the bed and dresser. But at that moment, it might as well have been a palace to her, a place where danger didn't exist for a few precious hours. Aria refused my offer of coffee at first. She just sat on the edge of my couch, arms wrapped around her knees, staring at the floor. I kept glancing at her, feeling a mix of anger at the injustice she had endured, and pity for the silent torment she carried. She had been running for days, maybe weeks, and the city, usually bustling, full of life, had offered her no sanctuary. I knew that look in her eyes. I had seen it once before in the mirror of my own past, years ago, when the world felt impossibly heavy and cold. For hours, she didn't speak. I didn't press. Some silences are safer than words, and tonight, silence was what she needed. Eventually, I moved to the kitchen and started preparing something to eat. When I returned with a plate of warm scrambled eggs and toast, she hesitated, then accepted it with a trembling hand. She smelled faintly of rain and smoke, remnants of a life spent fleeing danger. As she ate, I realized the shirt she wore was huge on her, hanging low over her thighs, the sleeves nearly covering her hands. I wanted to ask how she got here, why she was running, but part of me also knew some stories reveal themselves only when the heart is ready to hear. Instead, I sat across from her, making small talk, sharing little details about my life, my work as a freelance photographer, my routine walks in the park, my obsession with collecting old vinyl records. Slowly, the tension in her shoulders softened, though her eyes remained wary. Night fell, and the rain outside turned to a soft drizzle, tapping against the windows. I offered her a blanket, and she hesitated again, before finally wrapping herself in it. There was a fragility about her, a quiet pain that seemed to radiate from every movement. My mind couldn't stop racing with questions. Who hurt her? How long had she been alone? But I realized that tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight, she needed a safe harbor, and I would be it. Over the next few days, Aria began to reveal pieces of herself. Her voice, when she finally spoke, was soft, hesitant, as though each word might shatter her. She had escaped an abusive relationship, one that had escalated from manipulation to violence, leaving her with nothing but fear and bruises she could not fully hide. She had no family she could turn to, no friends who understood. Every step she had taken to reach me had been fueled by desperation, by the faint hope that someone, anyone, would see her not as a burden, but as a human being deserving of care. I listened, really listened, without judgment. Each story she told twisted something inside me, a combination of heartbreak, rage, and deep compassion. I saw not just the fear, but the spark of courage she carried, flickering yet unbroken. It was that spark I wanted to protect, to nurture, even if I didn't know exactly how. Days turned into weeks. She started to settle into my apartment, finding small comforts in routines, cooking breakfast, listening to music, even laughing quietly at my terrible attempts at brewing coffee. And then, one evening, she surprised me. She had taken my old camera from the shelf, the one I hadn't used in months, and began snapping photos of the city from my balcony. She captured the rain-slick streets, the golden glow of street lamps, the way umbrellas bobbed like tiny islands in the storm. I watched her, marveling at how life could continue even in the aftermath of so much pain. The shirt, my shirt, remained her constant companion. I never asked her to return it. Somehow, it had become a symbol of her reclaiming safety, of being held, even if imperfectly. It was more than fabric, it was protection, warmth, a subtle declaration that she deserved to exist freely, without fear. One morning, a month after she first appeared at my door, she asked if we could walk to the park together. The air was crisp, with sunlight filtering through the trees, illuminating the golden haze of early spring. She held my hand tentatively at first, testing the world again, testing trust. And as we walked, side by side, the tension in her posture lessened. She laughed, a pure, soft sound that echoed across the empty paths, and in that moment, I understood something profound. Healing doesn't happen in grand gestures, but in small, steady steps of courage, taken with someone who refuses to let go. There was a night I'll never forget. A night when a storm rolled in violently, rain hammering the windows, wind howling like a living thing. Aria was curled up on the couch, my shirt draped around her, staring out at the storm. I joined her, sitting silently, feeling the rhythm of the rain against the walls, realizing that sometimes comfort is simply presence. No words, no explanations, just being there, letting someone know they are not alone. Time passed, and Aria began to regain her strength, not just physically, but emotionally. The fear that had once defined her days slowly retreated, replaced by a quiet confidence, a tentative hope. She started volunteering at a nearby shelter, helping others who were running from shadows similar to her own. Each story she heard mirrored hers, and each person she helped healed a fraction of her own wounds. Watching her bloom, seeing her courage, was like watching sunlight pierce through clouds after a long, relentless storm. And yet, even as life began to normalize, I couldn't ignore the silent ache that lingered between us. There were moments, fleeting and fragile, where I caught her staring at me, and I wondered if she knew the depth of the bond we had formed. That bond wasn't built in moments of passion or drama, it was built in the quiet, in the shared silences, in the way she trusted me enough to exist as she was, without armor, without pretenses. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and violet, Aria turned to me, holding the edge of my shirt around her. "I never thought I'd feel safe again," she said, voice trembling, but steady enough to carry hope. You saved me without even knowing it." My chest tightened. I realized then that what had begun as a random encounter had transformed into something life-altering. Not just for her, but for me too. Her resilience, her courage, her quiet insistence on living fully despite everything, it had opened a door in me I didn't know existed. It's hard to put into words what it means to witness someone reclaim their life. It's hard to describe the mix of fear, love, compassion, and relief that floods through you when the person you protect starts to truly shine again. That night, as Aria slept on my couch, wrapped in the shirt that had once been my own, I made a promise, to continue offering kindness, to continue being a harbor for those adrift in storms. And as you watch this story, I want you to pause and think, kindness has power. Second chances have power.